Hello there. The stream is starting. Hello, everybody who's made it out here. I appreciate it. Okay, that is working. Oh, normally I have the poster up. Yes? Okay. Are we enjoying this? There we go. So, how's everybody doing in this last week before a race weekend? This is. We've waited so long for some proper content, and now it's happening almost. Because from Monday onwards, we can say it's Raw Seek, it's race week. I hope everybody had a good week. Just waiting a couple more minutes. There's Vegas. How are you? How's things in Nevada? And there's my wife. Hello, Samantha. Thank you for joining. Uh, yeah, so um, George Russell seems not to be able to let things go, and I just had to do a live stream on it. I already made a video about it a while ago, so didn't want to do it again. Vegas says Yuki not driving for Honda is content. I'm not sure if Honda specifically said this. They said that he needs to start looking out for himself and that he can't rely on Honda always. But yeah. So it's not like they're dropping him, but they're also saying like, hey, have a look out because we might not be able to put you into Aston Martin. And there's Hank. Hello, Hank. Welcome. And there's Polish Eddie. Good day, sir. Thank you so much for joining. So yeah, I prepared a couple of articles I've read, and um I found a bit of a timeline on the whole George Russell versus Max Verstappen situation. So I just want to go through that with you all, and then if there's time left, yeah, I don't want to be super strict. Um, Hank says English do remember a lot, hence the traditions. I did I miss something here? So I'm wearing my Mercedes cap. Yes, just to show that I'm not a complete hater. There's definitely elements of Mercedes that I enjoy. For instance, yes, but I'll pop him up. I'll pop him up later, you know, because I expect some feistiness at some point between George Russell and my Italian friend Kimi Andrea Antonelli. So, okay. I think everybody's here, so might as well get started. Right, as you all know, um, Max Verstappen gets on with everybody, and the grid these days, um, uh, Juan Pablo Montoya once said that he can't believe how close all the drivers are with each other now, because in his days, you had two drivers that you liked, and the rest of them they're all big enemies. But nowadays, these young drivers, they all play paddle with each other, and they fly on each other's planes, and they take lifts to their houses and whatever. And yeah, they didn't see that in his days. So Max gets on with pretty much everybody. He does acknowledge that some drivers he doesn't have much in common with, like Lewis Hamilton. They have very different hobbies and they're from a different generation. But usually, from say Carlos Sainz to Bortoleto, who's one of the youngest on the grid, Max gets on with everybody, and he has been playing padel and stuff with George Russell as well, and whenever they're on the what do you call it, the the show laps around the track, um, the drivers' parade, they stand next to each other and they talk to each other, so there was no issues. But then um, there was a race at the Yas Marina circuit in Qatar. Um, there was an incident in Q3 where Max was on a warm up lap, a slow lap, and he didn't want to push over the Delta because then he would get in front of other drivers and he didn't want to mess up their lap. So he was there at the track in a certain position and he thought nothing of it. But George Russell, he was adhering to his Delta, and he was driving like mad to warm up his tires and to make it in time, whatever reasons. So there was this bit of an awkward situation where Max was in the middle of the track and Russell was doing a fast lap, and he made a big, huge drama out of it and went into the gravel a little bit and got back on the track and made a drama out of it. And yeah, there was they were called into the stewards to see what happened there. And no, what I'm forgetting to tell you is that Max said pole time and George Russell said second best time. So they went into the uh, press conference side by side, and everything was hunky dory. They were chatting away, and when they were asked about that situation, George Russell said that it was a bit of a hairy one, and Max said that he didn't expect to get a penalty for it because they were both on slow laps, and yeah, he didn't want to mess up the people in front of him, so they thought nothing of it. Then they were called into the stewards, and this is where George Russell became a big, massive drama queen, and he urged and pushed and brought up all kinds of stuff to get Max a penalty. And for some reason, it swayed the stewards to give Max a penalty. And the weird thing was that it wasn't bad enough for a 3 grid place penalty, so they gave him a 1 place penalty. But Max, first of all, he was happy to have a pole again because he hadn't had many poles since the start of the season, but that was taken off him because of the grid drop. And he couldn't understand why somebody is all chatty and pally and friendly going up to the steward's room, and then a complete fucking Jekyll and Hyde performance that he changed into something completely different. And as a Dutchman, I hate people like that as well. That I don't know. Have you ever had where you're always nice to people and you're chatting away with people, and then you hear them talking about you behind you, yeah, and they think they can't hear you or something, and they actually talk shit about you. I hate that. So um Well, let's see if the chat has said anything so far. I'll pick it up from where I left. I need to say hi to a few people. Okay, I got you now, Hank. Russell just can't let it go. Um, yeah, Max gets along with Alonso, but they do sort of have the same hobbies, and where Hamilton is into fashion and music, and Max isn't. There's Christina. Hello. How are you? Yeah, Dr. Russell and Mr. Hyde. Very good one, no Baz. Love it. And Christina agrees with me that fake people are disgusting. Right. Let me go back to where I was. Yes. Now, let me see where we were. Max was super angry after he got the penalty. You know, the stewards told him that they had the penalty. And then probably Russell, on his way back from the stewards, tried to chat Max up again, you know, being all nicey nicey. But Max was having none of it. And he said that, you know, tomorrow in the race, I'm going to get you before turn one, or else I'm going to put your fucking head in the wall. Something along these lines. And this is where it became a little bit of a he said, she said, because Max had spoken to the Dutch press saying that he could not believe that somebody had two faces and would actively try so hard to get somebody a ridiculous penalty. And he understands the like on track, you know, calling out something to the stewards, or you know, that was a track limit, the violation, that sort of stuff. He gets that, but this was so absurd. And then if you decide to be the villain and to be so hard to attack a driver even in the stewards room, then don't be all pally wally later on. And this was funny because um, George Russell the next day hadn't realized Max had said these things in the press, and you know, he walked up to him at the drivers' parade, and yeah, he put his hand on his shoulder and he gave him a little tap, and Max was just a little bit standoffish. But then Russell found out what had happened, and then yeah, he just let loose, and this is where yeah, Russell turned into a bit of a bitch. He just started bringing in all kinds of stuff. This was then in the press conference, in a special press conference a week later at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where Toto Wolff was present as well, to talk about the situation. And he brought in Michael Massey, saying that if um, if what happened to Lewis Hamilton had happened to Max Verstappen, then Massey would have been threatened with his life. Um, Completely ignoring that Massey was threatened with his life when it happened to Lewis Hamilton. But that's beside the point. Russell also started interfering with Red Bull business. Like he said, Max Verstappen is so angry and aggressive and a bully that when he had his angry rant in Hungary, uh, he said that 25% of all the people, all the engineers working at Red Bull, had started sending out CVs to Mercedes and Aston Martin and other companies because, yeah, it was so terrible what Max did. Then I just wonder who all these people were celebrating with Max when he won the championship. Um, Now, Total Wolf was there at that press conference as well, but he was very careful not to attack Max because he still wants Max in his team. So he said that Christian Horner should not have said that George Russell was acting hysterically, and that you know Christian Horner was a bit of a terrier. So yeah, he wanted that noted. Um, so all this stuff was put back to Max again, and Max says, "Well, he was talking a lot of stuff that you can't really rely on now, can you? It's a lot of stuff that was unrelated." So Max had already expressed his anger, and that's it done for him. Then it's out of his system, and he's done. Um, he said the next time he's at the stewards with George Russell, he'll bring tissues, which was also quite a good dig. He did double down on what he said about Russell being two-faced, because he said he screws over friends, and I think he was referring to Alonso and Russell, because Russell made a huge drama out of what happened in Australia last year when he just crashed because Alonso braked a little bit odd. And he was making a huge drama in the stewards room as well then. And George Russell, believe it or not, and Alonso are also big friends. Don't know if you ever seen that picture with both of them smoking a cigar, clubbing away. Um, so I think Max was referring to that as well, that he screws over friends. Um, and he said that Russell might not be the best equipped to be the chairman of the GDPA. He said, "I don't think that's the best example to show, either for the FOM or the FIA, to be like that." So yeah, that probably hit home with George Russell as well, who takes pride in these jobs. Then there was the end of season dinner where the boys had organized that the two of them were sitting together, and he picked up his chair and sat next to Lewis. That was quite funny. And yeah, Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, they were uh, exchanging blows again, where Christian Horner said that he loves terriers and he'd rather be a terrier than a wolf. That was pretty funny. And yeah, so that was pretty much that for the whole Qatar incident leading into Abu Dhabi. And yeah, then the winter break started, and Max was living his good life, eating pancakes and whatever, enjoying his life. And yeah, I don't know where George Russell was with his mind, but he was still not over it. Right. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. No Bad Stub says, "This incident will define Dr. Russell's career in my mind. The fella showed his true colours, as was witnessed with the way he clawed at Hamilton throughout their time in Mercedes." Well, it's funny that you bring up Lewis Hamilton. Like, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen had plenty of beef with each other. But they never pretended to be friendly with each other. Max and Lewis never played padel together. And if they see each other, at the driver's parade, they'll shake each other's hand and tap each other on the shoulder. But that's it. And they'll not have long conversations together and socialize. Yeah. And when the heat was on in 2021, they sort of stayed out of each other's way. And then in the media, it was quite clear that the relationship was cold and standoffish. And that's fair. Two drivers fighting for a world champion. They don't have to like each other, and they can throw mud at each other in the media. You know, Max has said plenty of things about Hamilton. One of the ones that I really like was when Max said um, about Lewis Hamilton, well, God is with him, but he's not God. Or he said that if he had equal material as Lewis Hamilton, he'll still be 2/10 quicker. So those things, yeah, those things really stood by me, that Hamilton and Max, opponents, they don't like each other. They don't pretend to be friends. So that's fair, right? But George Russell pretended to be all friendly and all nice, and he's doing all this PR and all this management with other people, and he's also really nice. And then you get to the steward's room and he completely flips. And yeah, Max Verstappen can't handle that. But I'm going to the chat now because I see a lot of new faces. Here's somebody called Pramod, and he says, George, the princess. Yep, that's a good description. Pramod, can you tell us where you're from? Because my wife, Samantha, will write it down. And there's Felipe Hoyos. Buenos dias, Felipe Hoyos. How's things in Colombia? I watched a lot of TV shows about Colombia on Netflix, but never mind that. And there's Fretless Fender. And where are you from, Fretless Fender? Christina says, I've never liked George, and I've never actually known why. Seems like my sixth sense was warning me about false, two-faced, backstabbing guy. Oh, buenas tardes. Yes. Fretless Fender says, I don't know why Russell did this. What did he think he would gain? Yes. And see, my idea is that if you work so hard to get that pole position, then you shouldn't lose it before turn one. You know? And Pramod. Welcome from India. Where was I? Oh yeah, so if you work so hard to get that position, and then you give it away in the first before the first turn, you know, and he keeps saying that he wasn't impressed by Max and he's gonna stand up to him and he's not gonna get bullied, but at the end of the day, you know, he got beaten. So yeah, it's all completely nonsense. Philippa Hoyas has a question about Liam Lawson. Okay, I'll do this one quickly in between because I have more prepared. Yes, I think Liam Lawson, I saw him today on Drive to Survive, is a pretty feisty guy. He's not afraid, and I think he's got a good character. So even if in the first, say, 5-6 races he can't come close to Max, he'll not be intimidated by it. He'll just keep on working until it works. So I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll win a race this season, but he'll get a few podiums, hopefully. Right. So the next article I found. So keep in mind the timeline. What happened in Qatar was the end of the season. Abu Dhabi, end of the season. That was December, start of December. So George Russell was asked if he had spoken to Max Verstappen, and this was on the 18th of February, right? George Russell has not spoken to Formula One champion Max Verstappen since their end-of-season bust-up in Abu Dhabi last December, and the Mercedes driver said on Tuesday he was not about to change his approach either. Russell and Red Bull's four-time world champion traded accusations last year, with Verstappen saying he had lost respect for the Briton who accused him of threatening behaviour and bullying. So Russell said, and I quote, "I haven't spoken with him." Then he was asked if he had any fear of any reconciliations, any of that beef sliding into the new season, and that it could come to blows on track. And George Russell said, no concerns about him or his driving or anything. That happened last year. I want to focus on myself. Obviously, things I felt got out of line at the end of last year, and I made it pretty clear that I'm not going to take it. But now, it's 2025 and I want to focus on the job, and the job is to win. So I'm not going to change my approach fighting him, fighting any other drivers. The goal is the same, and I guess we'll see when we get going. So Max, he was asked about it as well. And here's what grown-up Max said. He said, honestly, I have no intention to continue any beef or any kind of beef in February. I'm still enjoying my time actually away from Formula 1 and just getting ready for the season. So honestly, I have nothing to say about the subject. This was the very last thing Max Verstappen has said about the George Russell beef. It was brought up again at the F175 event, and Max just laughed. And after that, I don't recall any words from Max about George Russell, right? Because Max was trying to get that car into good shape during testing. Okay, let's go to the chat. Hello, Pat Quaker Matt. How's it going, buddy? Pat Quaker Matt says Russell is not that much chased, as he makes too many mistakes when he needs to deliver. Samantha, are you deleting people's comments? What did he say? Oh, Pat did it himself. Sorry, Samantha. Okay, what else have I missed? Hey, there's Lone Wolf. Hello, Lone Wolf. Good evening. And what else? Oh, no. There's somebody called El Renzo. El Renzo, welcome to my chat. Where are you from? Hey! We've got a new member! Pramod. Thank you so much, buddy. That's amazing. I'm just flabbergasted. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Right. Pat Quakermat says, if Max joins Mercedes, Russell will most likely have to go. Will Red Bull Racing be a good match, or will they move someone else in? Hadjar. Otherwise, it'll be Cadillac, as most other seats are gone. I don't think Max is gonna leave. I've told this story before, but last year I was at the Max Verstappen store in Flevoland. It's a part in Holland. And I was talking to the manager, and I said, hey, I'm a content creator. Is there some way of doing a collaboration or something? And he goes, well, you're about the fifth this week that is asking that. We get TikTokers and YouTubers in weekly asking for collaborations. And that goes through Red Bull and the Max Verstappen organization, management. And he says, Max Verstappen group and the Red Bull group are so intertwined that they can't do these deals so quickly, and it all needs to fit. But that's why I think that Max dropping Red Bull being a sponsor of Max's other race team, VerstappenRacing.com, is not that easy. That's not going to happen overnight, and I think this season is going to be good enough for Max to get his fifth, and then in 2026, who knows? But I'm sure Max will be reasonable enough to realize that it's a new era of regulations, and things could be disappointing, especially with them creating the engines themselves. So I don't see Max leaving Red Bull. That's my theory. El Renzo is from the Netherlands. Goedenavond. El Renzo says, I'm enjoying your commentary. Well, I'm enjoying you being here. I also want to point out that we have 22 viewers, which is nice. Okay. Ooh. Christina says, you have no idea how much I'm rooting for Kimi to beat George. Well, since you said this, it's time for image 3. Yes? I'm going to leave up image 3 just for Christina. Right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, the last article that I showed you guys was about George Russell still talking, even in February, about Max. Yes? But the funny thing is that he says, obviously things fell out of line at the end of last year. It's clear that I'm not gonna take it. But now, it's 2025 and I want to focus on the job, and the job is to win. Right. So here's George Russell focusing on the job. I'm going to Twitter now. Yes. And I've got this video here. Right. Let me go screen share. This is gonna look trippy for a second. Okay. Okay, made this bigger. Okay.
Had our disagreements at the end of last year, and
okay.
I wasn't going to just stand and be bullied around. People seem to always back down to him. That's just not how I go about my business. It wasn't exactly purely because it's Max. If anybody would talk to me in that regard, on or off the track, in Formula One or not, that is the approach I would take, and that's the way I've been raised. I don't really have any approach with Max on or off track, because for me he's just another racing driver. We obviously had our disagreements at the end of last year, and that was a shame it played out that way. But that's life, and we're not here to be best friends. We're competitors. We're one of the best 20 racing drivers in the world fighting for a world championship. I wasn't going to just stand and be bullied around.
So, yeah, that was George Russell in March, before the season is starting, talking about Max Verstappen again. Now, what the hell? Like, give it a rest. The more he says that he's not bothered and he's not going to take it, the more it looks like it's in his head. And it obviously is. And yeah, it's just... yeah, it's so ridiculous. I had to do this live stream about it. Because if you're not bothered by something, like, excuse me, Max is unbothered. That's why he doesn't talk about it. If you approach Max now and you start about George Russell again, he says, I have nothing to say about it, and then you move on. But Russell, every single opportunity he gets to talk about how unbothered he is by Max and how he's not going to take it, and other drivers might get bullied by him, but not me, and everything, the more he's showing that he's completely and utterly triggered by it. And there's going to be so much focus on it. Like, if Lando puts it on P1, Russell puts it on P2 in Melbourne, and Max is P3, then all focus is going to be on, like, what's going to happen at the start, and I bet you Russell will not be looking at Lando, but he'll be looking backwards to see where Max is, and Max will probably set his car this way on the grid just to fuck with him, and I love it. It's amazing. Right, let me see. I'm going to just pick out some tweets here to see if there's anything I want to highlight. Hank says, I still have high hopes for the engine project, despite the constant downplaying by the British media. Yeah, that's the Red Bull powertrains department. Yeah, let's see how that goes first, Yeah, Christina is happy with the cute Italian boy. I always compare him with Frodo from The Lord of the Rings. The curly hair and then the beautiful, pretty, nice face. Yeah. I could see him bringing a ring to Mordor, chucking it into the lava. No Bathtub says scripted in uniform. And El Renzo wants to know what the Mercedes hat is. Yeah, well, I just didn't want to discourage people coming into this live stream thinking that I'm a massive Mercedes hater, because I'm not. So yeah, I have a McLaren one as well. Yeah, and Aston Martin. Williams. But for now, since the subject is Mercedes driver, I'm wearing a Mercedes cap. Okay. Right. Philippe Hoyo says, you're right, Wimbo. Max has no mind for it. Exactly. Hank says, Russell only claims he isn't bothered, but you can see the fear in his eyes. Exactly. That fear is called tears, Hank. Russell splaining. Lorenzo says, George is scared, no worries, and he gets messed up with the UK media. True. Lone Wolf says, in Drive to Survive, Lewis blocked Toto from talking with Max management. Could Russell try to do the same? He could try, but I don't think Toto will listen to him. When Lewis Hamilton asked him to respect him when he was there after what happened in Abu Dhabi, to not talk to Max Verstappen while he was still in the contract, I understand that. Because of the 6 championships they won together. But Russell has nothing to fall back on. How many wins has he got? 4? Yeah, no, Toto Wolff won't be impressed with 4 wins. Okay. But oh, Christina, I have Ferrari. Oh, here. Yes? Italia. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Okay? I'm going to Italy this year. In the summer. I told Samantha, my wife, you know, what's nice? Italy in the summer. And then we went to a place which is very close to the Ferrari Museum. So that's where we're going. Somebody says, Pramod, nice comment. I want to see what Pramod said. Oh, George is scared of Max. He lives in his head rent free. Yes, he does. But yeah, no, I think I've showed everything that I wanted to show. The bat sign. Hello, welcome to my stream. Wimbo, why is George Russell attacking Max so much? Well, we already came to the conclusion that Max lives in George Russell's head rent free. He says he's not scared of him, but he is. And, Russell wants to be on the team. He wants to be part of the big boys like Leclerc. Because Leclerc and Max fighting is beautiful. They have so much respect for each other, overtaking each other one after the other. And I'm hoping to see more of this this season. I could totally live with Ferrari being the strongest engine and car and Charles Leclerc cruising to a title. Max losing a title without any issues and toxicity, I can completely deal with that. So I'm the same for Lando Norris. I like Lando Norris. He grew on me even more after watching DTS, where he was completely honest about how he cared too much about how people felt about him and stuff, and that he's too much influenced by social media. I think we're going to see a different Lando Norris. So yeah, if he has if Lando Norris has the car that is supposed to be as good as the people say, then if he cruises to a title, then I'm happy enough with that as well. But what I don't want is a nasty title fight between Lando and Max, and then the British media hating on Max. And it's good for my content, but yeah, it'll annoy me again, and that's not what I want. Oh god, where was I? Oh yeah, so I already mentioned Drive to Survive. Now, in Drive to Survive, you can tell that some people are doing a bit of an act. Yes, Toto Wolff and Susie Wolff sitting at breakfast discussing the drivers. I can guarantee you that if Toto Wolff says a few words wrong, he'll say, "Guys, don't use this cut. I'll say it again." Yes, so he'll be doing retakes, and I'm sure that Netflix is happy that Toto Wolff is involved, so they'll let him say it again. Yeah, but you can just tell that it's not 100% genuine, right? Now, with anything George Russell does on Drive to Survive, whether it's walking to his car, anything he does is acted. Anything. And that brings me to the what was that really warm race? The Singapore race. He kept saying like, "Oh, I don't feel well. I don't feel well." Now, to give him credit, he did look very pale, and the race is hard, but it's hard on everybody, right? And you see him jumping into the ice bath, yeah, and he's still like, "Oh, I don't feel well," and then they close the door, and you can hear him having a sort of a panic attack and just going completely mental. Now, my spider senses tell me that was all an act because they knew fucking Netflix were standing out there with cameras. I guarantee you that wasn't 100% genuine. Yes, he had discomfort. He felt bad. He was feeling nauseous, whatever. He had a heat stroke a little bit. But the whole sound effects and the drama, that was 100% added. And basically that's why I don't like George Russell. And I used to like him. And it used to be kind of quirky, you know. Oh, he scored his first points with the Williams, crying. And oh, he scored his first win, crying. And he had a crash with Bottas, slapped him on the helmet. Yeah. But that was all sort of quirkiness. But now, no, it's too much, and I don't like him anymore. So for me, he's a persona non grata. Okay, let's go to the chat. Okay, I've done that. Nobas says it's a defensive mechanism from a weaker version of the species. Oh, he was talking to the bat sign. And Filippo Hoyo says Lewis does deserve an 8, though. That's a hard one. Lewis, personally, has grown on me, and he has style, and he's cool. He plays the political side a little bit too much to my liking, but he's clearly a fantastic driver who's had the benefit of dominant cars. If he has a supercar and he beats Charles Leclerc and he becomes a champion, then I'd be happy for him personally. But I'd hate to see Team LH be happy, because they're such a loud, obnoxious group on social media. They're even louder and more obnoxious than me, which is saying something. But yeah, I'd be over it very quickly. Then, yeah, I'd hate to see one of those tense battles between Max and Lewis again. You know, with crashes and the media getting involved. You know, I don't think I can stomach that. But yeah, if it happens, it happens. So does he deserve an 8? Well, he won his first one. Very fortuitous, lucky. And he lost the last chance for a title very unlucky, so it levels each other out. Yeah, so I'd be happy enough if it stays at 7. But yeah, he can have a few wins at Ferrari. That, you know, the 2 years that he's going to be at Ferrari don't fizzle out and then he leaves. That doesn't have to happen from my side. Okay, enough about Lewis. Christina says, I still want a Charles and Max title fight. I am kind of interested on which side British media will take. I can 100% guarantee you that they will be on Charles' side. And if Leclerc does something to Max, which deserves a penalty, and Charles doesn't get it, then they'll probably still find a way to say, well, Max has been racing like that forever, and he shouldn't moan. So, no, they'll 100% be on Leclerc's side. Things might change if there becomes nastiness between Leclerc and Hamilton. Yeah? And if we see it was just an incident side of Leclerc towards Hamilton, then the British media might change a little bit. So, but that's an interesting thought, though. So it's something to keep an eye on. Thank you, Christina. Phyllis Rahim, hello. I haven't said hello to you yet. I see you in my comments all the time. I appreciate it, brother. Toto said Kimi is the next Max Verstappen. I wonder if Kimi do it to Russell and what he would say. I so hope, for Kimi to be a rascal like Max was. Like Max passing Nasser in Belgium, Spa. Just keeping his foot on the ground and passing him in a turn when nobody passes anybody. And then Martin Brundle going, the boy knows no fear. That's the sort of stuff that I want to see from a rookie, and I think Antonelli might be the one for it. Or do you remember when Vettel was passing a lapped car, and Max just stayed on Vettel's tail and passed somebody in Monaco as a 17-year-old? God, that was amazing. That was really underappreciated what that kid did those days. And then Samantha says, I think they will pick Charles. Anyone will beat Max, as they can't backtrack now after all the slagging they have done to Max without looking stupid. Yeah, that's another thing. That they can't all of a sudden start being supporters of Max. The bad sign says everything is an act, but you can see Max is real and he's Dutch, and that's why I love him. Totally agree. And he's the GOAT, yes. And then Pramos, my newest member, says Max, Lando, and Charles fighting for the championship, making Lewis and George irrelevant, would be a dream season for me. What's yours? Well, I'm actually going with you. That would be amazing. Max, Lando, Charles, 3 different constructors fighting for it. 1 week this one's the best, 1 week that one's the best. Then Max is the best again. Yeah, I'd like that. No, I'm sticking with you. Felipe Hoyo says, George has pulled off some great strategies though, but I'm with you. Well, George, by all means, is not a bad driver. Honestly, the moaning I'm doing about George Russell is all about his personality. And, people were harsh on him when he had a couple of weird incidents 2 years ago. But I'm thinking, that's all part and parcel of being a Formula 1 driver and of the process. And the Mercedes car had like understeer and oversteer in the same turn. That was those shit boxes were never easy to drive. So yeah, the incident in Singapore where he crashed trying to overtake, or trying to stay on the tail of, I don't know who was in front of him, Lando. Yeah, that was a margin of this much where he touched the wall and just went straight ahead. That was just unlucky. So, yeah. Russell has done some great strategies. But here's another thing, yeah? He won the race in... was it Belgium? Where he decided to do a one-stopper, yeah? And Lewis Hamilton did a two-stopper. And, like, when they were making this decision, he said, I want to go for a one-stopper. I want to go for a one-stopper. So it was his strategy to go for a one-stop, yeah? Then he comes over the finish line and he's celebrating the win. And then he goes, fantastic strategy, guys. Fantastic strategy, guys. Yeah, it was his strategy. So he's basically, giving himself a compliment. Samantha says, I changed Lando to Piastri. Don't know why, but I don't like Lando at all. He seems like a Russell in training. But you haven't seen the new season yet of Drive to Survive. Lando's a cutie pie. Stop it, Samantha. It's quite possible Kimi could do to Russell as Max did to Ricciardo. Okay? As long as Max is provided with a good enough car, he will become world champion as long as Max wants it to. Yeah. George thinks about strategies indeed. However, he doesn't think about it very well. Okay, so Hank, you're more of the like a broken clock is right twice a day with George Russell and his strategies. Interesting. This is a great live stream, guys. Love it. Christina says, I think Lewis is incredibly fake. I've met him. Oh, I have with him the same problem like with George. My spidey senses are warning me. Well, I think it's part and parcel of the Mercedes team as well, because, you know, Mercedes has a certain attitude and a certain corporate mindset where everything needs to be perfect and organized, and you know, for the outside it needs to look 100%. So that's why it would be interesting to see Max there and to be as unhinged as he is. You know, so I'm not against a move from Max to Mercedes, but I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, I can't keep up with all the chats. Okay. El Renzo says, I used to call him Gorgeous George, but now Whining George. Yeah. Hank says, Antonelli doesn't have the credibility of Max in his junior career. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's almost 9 o'clock. I've been going for an hour. Right, guys? If you guys have any questions or topics you want to discuss, then go ahead now. I'll just keep going for another, say, 5 or 10 minutes before I clock out. But this stream was amazing. It's the best one I had so far. The bat sign says, George walks and talks like a robot. Yeah, they've compared him to Woody from Toy Story. They've compared him to a Playmobil man. It's all funny. Hey, there's Vegas. And Vegas says, great show. Thank you. Thank you for always being here, Vegas. I love it. And you as well, Hank. And Christina. I'm only missing Slowpat. Must be busy. Oh, Samantha, that was a good one. So do you guys like Drive to Survive? I've seen 8 episodes now, but there's one episode called Frenemies, and it's about Lando Norris and Max Verstappen being friends. And then Will Buxton goes, Max Verstappen has a real fuck off attitude. And then you see Max pushing Ocon, and you see him like driving into people, or and you see him shouting at on the radio in Hungary, yeah. And then, but Lando Norris doesn't have that at all. And then you see Lando Norris sitting on his ass with 3 puppies in his lap. Oh, Gucci, Gucci. Oh, God. Hey, there's Bravo Johnny. Hello, sir. You're a bit late. I'm leaving. Hank says, remember Russell being stuck behind Lewis in Japan last year, I believe. He first ruined his tires and then wanted to go long, and he was granted that. He lost out big time. Yeah. But that reminded me of George Russell in Zandvoort. Max was leading. Bottas in his Alfa Romeo DNF'd. So there was a safety car. And Max went straight into the pit for fresh soft tires. So he went from P1 to P3 behind the 2 Mercedeses. And Lewis Hamilton was in the lead. Now, as always with Lewis Hamilton, he loves track position. Yes? So he thought, if Max wants to get past me, he needs to get past Russell as well. So there was a few laps behind the safety car. And then just before the safety car was ending, Russell said, guys, these tires won't last. I have trouble keeping them warm. I'm pitting. And he said, okay, go ahead, come in. So Max inherited P2. And Lewis Hamilton couldn't pit anymore. So it was very clever from Russell. And then, Max just steamed past Lewis Hamilton. And Russell passed Hamilton. And then Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc also passed Hamilton. So, he finished P5 or something. But that was very clever of George Russell. So he does have a mind for strategy. Okay, Pramod. Thank you again with becoming a member, and good night. Sleep well. Bravo Johnny says Antonelli will have a Guterres neck by season end. Yeah. So Christina, you're not watching any more of Drive to Survive? Was it enough after three episodes? Because I'm definitely watching another 2 after this stream. Alrenzo says, Wimbo, you're wonderful. Say it out loud. Okay, thank you. I'm getting shy now. Right, boys and girls. I thoroughly enjoyed this live stream. Thank you so much for all joining. Next week, same time, I'll be here. Oh, I might do a special live stream for a free practice session or a qualifying session. I haven't looked at it, but keep checking my posts, because usually I announce my live streams as well. Especially if I don't do it on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, then keep an eye on posts and I'll announce when I'll be doing my next live stream. Because I do like to do a quali watch along or something, or So everybody, take care now. Doei doei.